Peace, everybody, and welcome to my brand new true crime series, the Supreme Team Docket. In this particular episode, I want to focus on how the Supreme Team used the Supreme Mathematics, the language inspired from the organization, to basically conceal their movements from authorities. However, due to an informant, the language was deciphered. I do believe that later on in this series, we will hear way more from this informant and probably why he even decided to turn on the group. However, there was a search warrant that was granted by a judge. Let's get into this. This is the search warrant here. And we've read these things before if you've been with us from some of the other episodes. If you have not, then you definitely want to kind of go to the playlist and see where this series begins. And then each episode will bring you to the next sequential episode that you should watch. Proof having been made this day before me by Detective William Ryan, Shield 848, assigned to the Queens Narcotics District, that such property, to wit, cocaine, U.S. currency used to purchase cocaine, narcotics, paraphernalia, including but not limited to books and records of cocaine sales transactions, and telephone books, are being possessed and sold in violation of Article 220 of the Penal Law of the State of New York at this address here, right? So they got the search warrant March 20th of 1990. That being the case, let's keep going and kind of see what kind of led to this search warrant here. We can see right here that on January 22nd in 1990 at 1:25 in the morning, during a conversation between Miller and Arroyo being Wilfredo Arroyo, a third call is placed on the line. Sidebar, they had that ability back in 1990? I do remember you being able to put somebody on hold and going or clicking over. But I guess they had that ability in 1990. All right. In addition to telling Miller that he is home, Arroyo hears and confirms the following conversation between Miller and Willie D. Graham, one of the cocaine procurers for Miller. Willie D. tells Miller that Miller, can hit me tonight or meet with me in the morning. In my opinion, as a police officer trained in narcotics investigations, I believe that William Graham is telling Miller the ways to contact Graham to make a cocaine purchase. Miller can either beep Graham, hit me, or meet him in the morning. Indeed, during the course of the surveillance in this investigation, I have observed the targets of the investigation wearing beepers. Moreover, the CI has informed me that Willie D is one of the sources used by Miller to purchase cocaine. The CI informs me that in a typical transaction, Miller would direct someone to go to Willie D's house at a prearranged time, whereupon Willie D would beep one of the two Colombians to set up a cocaine delivery. Wow. I would like to do another sidebar. I don't know if we're going to get to, so let me I kind of want to commentate a little bit on this. Just walk with me. We know that from history, and if you don't know yet, 4 Colombians were alleged to have been killed. I say alleged because they only found some of the bodies of the Colombians. They didn't find all of the bodies of the Colombians. But there have been testimony that 4 Colombians died. But my thing is this, and I hope it comes out in this series, that the paperwork says that they were getting the cocaine from Willie Graham. So he's El Jefe to them. You understand? He may not be El Jefe to all, but he's El Jefe to them. So at what point does it get to where they decide not to go through Willie Graham anymore, and we just gonna contact the Colombians, and the first thing we gonna do is knock them off? I don't know, but we're gonna unsidebar and get back to this paperwork. I'm just sharing what's going through my head right now. You understand? Let's get back to it. During the course of the monitoring of telephone calls, Gerald Miller, Wilfredo Arreo, and their associates have been conversing in the 5% code. The code was explained to me by Ernesto Puerto Rican Righteous Pinella on January 4th, 1990. The first letter of each word used in the code is taken to form a word or sentence. The significance of the following conversations emerges once one has utilized the so-called 5% code. Let's just stop right there. Again, I want y'all to remember these dates because we will be going over court minutes where Puerto Rican Righteous is questioned about basically him starting to give up information and when he was arrested. So that date is very important. If they said that he explained this code to the police January 4th, 1990, then first of all, either he got arrested between in the last 4 days, from the first or the 3 days, and from the first to the 4th, and just started talking, or he actually started working with the police in 89, right? But I just had to highlight that. Please remember the dates so that when we get to the transcripts, because he's going to say he doesn't remember but you will remember because I'm going over this with you in this series, and you'll be like, oh, okay, Saladin said to look out for that. All right? Hit the like button, do subscribe, and hit the hype button too. Let's get back into it. So, here's a call February 7th, 1990 at 11:22 p.m. at night. Wilfredo Arreo tells Miller that he does not believe that he will be savior, he cipher, rule, truth, using the word cipher to mean the letter O, as explained by Puerto Rican Righteous. It is my opinion that Miller and Arreo are talking about a quantity of cocaine and that they will not be short. All right. Arreo then tells Miller that they have to be careful because there is a lot of wisdom, Allah, truth, equality, ruler. It is my opinion that Miller and Arreo are talking about the purity of cocaine. They're saying that they should be careful because the cocaine on the street is water, which means diluted with other materials. Arreo also asked Miller whether Arreo should get See Allah, Savior, He. Here, use the word see to mean the letter C, as explained by Puerto Rican Righteous. It is my opinion that Miller is directing Arreo to get money, cash, to purchase cocaine. February 8th, 1990, 8:46 p.m. In this conversation, Miller calls Arroyo at the subject premises, and Arroyo tells Miller that he has bad news about the Cipher Universal Now Truth, using the word C to represent the letter C and cipher to represent the letter O. Arroyo tells Miller that there are problems with the count. Here it is my opinion that they are talking about money to purchase cocaine, and that there may not be enough money to make narcotics purchase. Which, can I do a sidebar real quick? Which is kind of weird. Now, I don't know why people keep on saying I talk to certain individuals and I'm getting my information from certain individuals. However, by now you could clearly see that you are wrong, and I am not getting my information from those individuals that you said I was getting my information from. However, I do listen to those guys that speak. One in particular being Brian Glaze Gibbs, because he does, just because he ratted. We all know he ratted. We all know that. That doesn't mean he's a liar. Just means that he decided he ain't doing all that time. He changed his mind about being in this world, in that world, as a high-ranking criminal. When push came to shove, and it was time to do the time, he said, "Oh, no, I wasn't serious." They say, "Oh, Mikey Corleone this and Mikey Corleone that, but I don't know no Godfather." Right? He changed the whole thing up. But it doesn't mean that he was lying, right? So Brian always liked to say that these guys wasn't making that type of money. You know what I'm saying? And he brings up different points, but it's not. I don't take everything that he say for true. But some things I say, oh, that's a good question. Now, here's not having enough money. If y'all was making millions, maybe at one point there was, and maybe, because remember, this is a time when allegedly Suprema Griff is locked up. Allegedly, you understand? So this is a later time. Maybe things happen. You understand? The ups and downs of the game and the business, and this is not at the height of their success, is what I'm saying, right? Either way, unsidebar. Allegedly, the detective thinks that they may not, that code meant there may not be enough money to make a narcotics purchase. And guess what? It could have just not been enough money to where Arroyo was going to get the money. That don't mean they didn't have the money, right? It just meant that particular place, it could have been a house, it could have been anything. We're making assumptions based off little evidence here, right? Unsidebar again. Moreover, as part of this investigation, my fellow officers and I have been monitoring telephone calls from the telephone number right there at the residence of William Willie D. Graham. According to the CI, Willie D. is one of the cocaine's procurers for Gerald Prince Miller. The following is a partial list of telephone calls which were monitored from Willie D.'s house. Can I do a sidebar? I don't want to do too many sidebars, but I will say it is. I don't want to give praise, but when you're in the street and somebody help you eat, it's very important that you stand and you take what comes to you, right? And I never heard that he told on Willie Graham. He doesn't even mention that, right? And I'm pretty sure Willie Graham appreciates that, right? Because even though there's a lot of evidence that put Willie Graham down, it didn't come from no testimony or somebody trying to work a deal on Willie Graham, and not, at least not Prince. Prince didn't do that, right? So let's get back to this. Hold on. So the following is a partial list of the telephone calls which were monitored from Willie Graham's house. This is February 20th, 1990, 7:16 p.m. In this conversation, Miller telephones Willie D and asks him, "If you get the dough, you ready?" Willie D responds by saying, "My man, he's ready for 2 days. He should be still ready." Miller then states, hold on. Miller then states that, okay, hey yo, I want a hole. I'm gonna be about 5 short. If he don't, I'll take half right now. It is my opinion as a police officer trained in narcotics investigations that Miller and Willie D are setting up a narcotics purchase, and that Miller would like to buy 1 kilo of cocaine. I want a whole. I also believe that Miller is $5,000 short, and that if he cannot purchase 1 full kilo of cocaine, Miller will buy a half of kilo. I'll take a half right now. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, I don't think he was too far off. Anyway, let's get back to this. February 20th, 1990, 9:45. Later on that same evening, Miller telephones Willie D, and Miller tells Willie D that they left already. Willie D then answers in the affirmative when Miller asks him, "Good to go." It is my opinion as a police officer trained in narcotics investigations that Miller and Willie D have finalized their cocaine transaction. Here, it is my opinion that Miller has informed Willie D that Miller's peoples are on their way to Willie D's house to deliver the money for the purchase, and Willie D confirmed the transaction by acknowledging that it is good to go. On February 20th, 1990, from 8:30 p.m. to 11:10 p.m., a surveillance was set up in the vicinity of Willie D's house by Detective William J. Giuseppe. He informs me of the following. William Willie D. Graham and an unknown male black exit Willie D's house and walk northbound on 95th Street. 10:57 p.m. I apologize, y'all. 10:57 p.m. A yellow VW, which means Volkswagen Rabbit, automobile parks on the corner of 25th Avenue, and at this time, a blue Dodge Dynasty parks directly in front of the Volkswagen. Willie D exits the Volkswagen Rabbit and enters the blue Dynasty, at which time the vehicle leaves the area and the Volkswagen Rabbit remains. The blue Dodge Dynasty returns to the area and parks in the same spot where it was previously parked, and exiting said vehicles are Willie D and Wilfredo C. Hold on, y'all. C. Just Arreo. Both subjects were wearing bulky coats and they entered Willie D's house. It is my opinion as a police officer trained in narcotics investigation and based upon the observations and surveillance in this case that Arreo was directed by Gerald Miller to deliver money to Willie D. Graham to make a cocaine purchase. Indeed, Arreo was observed meeting with Willie D and entering his house. And prior to this observation, Willie D was informed by Gerald Miller that his people were on their way to Graham's house. Based upon my background, training, and experience, I can say that the observations set forth above are consistent with drug trafficking. My experience also leads me to believe that cocaine sellers often have books and records of past transactions, as well as names and telephone numbers of customers and suppliers of cocaine. Such data can be stored either manually or electronically in pages in sophisticated telephones and computers. I respectfully request the court's permission to execute this warrant without first announcing our purpose or authority, because in my experience as a narcotics investigator, I have observed that the substance sought to be seized, namely cocaine, may be easily destroyed by fire ingestion or by flushing down the toilet. So we've read this type of narrative before. If you watch the rest of my episodes, this right here says Detective William Giuseppe John Seeger, John Sullivan, and James Phelan are personally known to me to be reliable police officers, and on numerous occasions have given information leading to arrests and convictions for narcotics. Okay. Let me just see if there's anything else in here. Nope. And then it was signed. So there you go. There you have it. The Supreme Team attempts to use a cryptic language to move and trick the authorities, but it looks like Puerto Rican righteous nipped that in the bud and was like, nah, this is what that language means, and it helped to bring them down, down. But we still have to find out why did Puerto Rican righteous do this. So that's what we're gonna get to. So that being said, listen, hit the like button for me. I know some people are upset with maybe what they're hearing, because a lot of people, you didn't know what I was getting my information from. You thought I was working with somebody else, and now you guys are just wrong in a lot of areas, and you probably feel foolish. Listen, let bygones be bygones. Put the old things behind us away. You understand? Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Knock it off. Hit the hype button, and let's just enjoy this content that I'm providing for y'all. All right? Catch y'all in the next episode. Peace out.